said it before and I'll say it again. War stories and monster movies are educational. They're survival-oriented.
Thanks for listening to Film Strip.
People of Earth, please heed my warning. A terrible accident has occurred. A stray energy beam containing garbage from my substation may be headed for your solar system and could possibly result in the total annihilation of your species.
All content used or discussed in this podcast are the property of their respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504c2, Title 17.
Welcome to Film Strip. I'm Jay.
I'm Nick.
And we're here to review Terrorvision. Finally, starring Chad Allen, Diane Franklin, Mary Warrenoff, Garrett Graham, and Burt Remsen, directed by Ted Nicolau, released in February of 1986 on a budget of unknown thousands of dollars. This actually grossed $320,000 in its one weekend of release, Nick. So, why are we talking about a movie called Terrorvision?
Because it was on Netflix Instant. No, it's actually... It's a movie I caught when I was younger. My dad, for some reason, recorded it on VHS when it was on TV or when we had HBO free for a weekend. You know, remember those?
Oh, yeah.
And I just remember watching it a lot as a kid, and I liked the movie. I don't know why. I knew at the time it wasn't a very good movie, but there was something just so, like, cheesy about it that it was good. And I'll say right now, the 80s, they have tons of movies like this with, like, just this cheesy horror, doesn't take itself seriously, and I think it's just a kind of a funny, cool genre to hit up. So when we were kind of talking about a funny, not so serious, slapsticky, stupid movie, I was like, we gotta do Terrorvision. So,
well, I think you just summed it up as to what it is. I actually saw this. I just didn't know I had seen it. I thought going in to watch this, I was going to be the newbie, but no, I actually saw part of this, probably on one of those free HBO weekends like you're talking about growing up, but just not realizing what I saw. Because I don't know how I bump across Chad Allen in movies just randomly from time to time, and I always remember his face. And I just remember seeing when I'm watching this movie and watching the kid he plays here, I'm like, I know I've seen this. I have seen this movie before. So I didn't remember any of it, and I'm hard-pressed to wonder if I'll remember any of it beyond our conversation tonight. But it's definitely different. I mean, not the lowest grossing thing we've ever done here on Film Strip. I mean, we did Donkey Punch. That made no money at all, but, you know, that was an independent release. This, maybe one of the more, I don't know, we don't dive into the cult classic bin very much here, so this one definitely falls into that category, I would think, because you can't even get this on DVD, man. If you're not watching it on Netflix, you're bootlegging it off the internet, or you've got an old VHS somewhere, because you can't find this in wide release.
no, you can't. And I was actually really surprised that Netflix had it up. When I saw that, I was just like, I gotta tell Jay about this. And yeah, that was really kind of cool to see that. And before that, the only way you could really see this movie, at least for me, was on YouTube.
That's right. And I don't even know that that's still live anymore either. So, I mean, it's probably out there if you want to go hunt it and find it, but if you don't have access to Netflix, but it's certainly one of those I'm curious. Well, I shouldn't be curious. Netflix has a lot of this stuff that's up there on the streaming side that you wonder how they get it. And if you realize anything about Hollywood business, you know that everybody owns everything else and things get swapped around, and somewhere Terrorvision got traded as part of a deal. Maybe they got his potato salad out of it. I don't know, but it came along to somebody, and now Netflix has it. So at least for right now, things disappear off Netflix, like, Jimmy Hoffa's Lieutenants. So, you never know what'll be there next. But I guess before we get any further, Nick, we can tell people right now, we're not going to walk through this one plot point to plot point, because I don't know that that's even possible. So I think we're going to talk about it in kind of broader schemes like we have done a few other things. But I think it would do well if you gave us a plot summary, or at least try to.
Not a problem. All right. On a distant, faraway planet, a poor, unsuspecting trash monster is living its days out, eating the waste of an advanced alien race. Before he is aware of what is going on, he and the trash are turned into energy and beamed away like a ping pong ball. Luckily for our monster, let's just call him Hungry, His energy beam is caught by a family's satellite dish on a planet called Earth. This swinging Peterman family just installed a state-of-the-art satellite dish, and it just so happened to catch Hungry's energy beam and transmit him into their television. In the TV, he catches glimpses of the Peterman family, the swinger parents, Raquel and Stanley, the Cyndi Lauper wannabe daughter, Susie, the future soldier of fortune's son, Sherman, and World War III survivor, Grandpa.
World War III?
Yeah, World War III. Later that evening, when the Peterman parents go out swinging, and Susie goes out with her boyfriend, Odie, played by Uncle Rico. Hungry decides to make a break for it. Escaping the TV, he is spotted by Grandpa and Sherman, who then head into the family's bunker of war and arm themselves to the teeth with guns and grenades. Hungry, who at this point has become hungry, get that, decides to feed on the worthless TV repairman. After spotting Grandpa, Hungry uses this opportunity to kill and consume him as well. Before Hungry can finish his gramtastic meal, Sherman comes running in and scares Hungry back into the TV set. While hiding in the TV, the Peterman parents return with another swinging couple. Sherman tries to warn his parents about Hungry, but they are more concerned with entering the Pleasure Dome. Yeah, the Pleasure Dome is...
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. Seeing that his parents are preoccupied with sex, Hungry escapes the TV and eliminates the parents and their friends. After feeding on the four sex-crazed adults, Susie and Odie return. Sensing the danger, Hungry hides in the Peterman parents' bed. Using their heads as a disguise, he fools the dim-witted Susie and Sherman. After they leave, Hungry decides to go on the offensive once again. But after noticing Odie's punk outfit matches the outfit of his former friend and owner, Hungry decides to give the rest of the family a chance at friendship. After listening to some 80s hair metal with the group, the Peterman family shows their true colors. They conclude that they can use Hungry to earn money and fame. Sherman calls up the local boobtastic late-night TV host, Medusa, to tell her about Hungry, thinking she can help them pimp out Hungry. After realizing their intention, Hungry attacks and kills Odie. Sherman and Susie take refuge in the family's bunker of war. After arming themselves yet again, Sherman takes Susie around the house determined to kill Hungry. Suddenly, Hungry's old friend and owner arrives, deciding to team up with Sherman and Susie. Luckily, Medusa shows up and kills Hungry's owner, eliminating any chance the Petermans have at defeating Hungry. Hungry then breaks through the wall and swallows Sherman, Susie, and Medusa. The film ends with Hungry using Medusa's head to fool Medusa's limo driver into taking him to Medusa's TV studio. End credits.
And that is 83 minutes.
83 fantastic minutes.
Fantastic is a word, that is for sure. My goodness. Well, I don't know what movie you saw. That wasn't exactly the point of view I saw it from, but...
I did change it around a little bit because... You really can't describe this movie from like a straight-on narrative taken from like maybe like the kid's point of view. It's much easier to tackle this movie from the point of view of Hungry.
It's because none of the humans in this movie are remotely human. They're all like gross caricatures of excessive 80s stereotypes. Would you not agree?
80s and 70s. It was kind of like a mixture of them both because I don't know how much swinging was going around in the 80s. That seems to be kind of like a 70s movement. But yeah, they're all just very gross.
Well, I mean, like Grandpa's supposed to be like the greatest generation, hanging around still, right? And then you got the bratty 80s kids and Susie and Sherman, and then you've got the swinger parents from the late 60s, early 70s, and then you got Medusa, who's she's the trope of 80s horror television, the knockoff Elvira, that kind of thing, and then. Then you've got the monsters from outer space, which I don't know what that's from, but it like this, distended Muppet or something. It was very weird. I got to tell you, I told you before, I knew I'd seen this and I just didn't remember much of it. This was a weird experience to watch this film. I can almost imagine watching it with a group of people is much more entertaining than watching it by yourself.
Oh, definitely. This is definitely like a party movie, get a bunch of friends together and, just put on some bad movies. This would be like a great, double feature maybe with like The Blob from the 80s or something,
Yeah.
Where it's just like, it's aware of what it is but it's just you have a good time watching it, even though it's a bad movie. I mean, this movie isn't directed very well or anything, but it's so watchable. It's ridiculous. It's like you just put it on and it's like, this is really bad, but I'm going to keep it on till the end. I mean, did you feel kind of the same way when you're watching it?
Well, you can't help but not watch it. It's like that kind of train wreck, that you see, and you can't help but look at it. You just want to see what's going to happen next. I'm sort of blown away by. You mentioned it. It's not directed terribly well. There's only like 2 sets in the whole film. And I mean, it looked like it was shot on they did some exteriors of this really nice house that does not remotely match what is happening on the screen on the inside. I mean, it's really just one big room that they keep reapportioning and shooting in. But I gotta say, all that together, it was really fun. I mean, I did have fun watching this, even though I wouldn't call any of it good necessarily, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense. I mean, I even like the color tone of the whole movie. I mean, talk about just like your pastels. Everything is like pink or like that Brady Bunch lawn green, and I don't know. It's just I enjoyed it though. I can't lie. I enjoyed it just because the movie is very aware of what it is. It's not like they went out to make like a serious horror movie. They knew this was going to be a joke of a movie, and you can just tell everybody's really having fun making it. It's probably
totally.
big part. It was probably a big party on set. It was probably the Pleasure Dome of the movie.
Well, I can imagine that there was probably a lot of substance going around as this was being made. Let's talk about the characters a little bit here as we get into this thing. But then I've got some questions that I need you to help me clear up because you are the big fan of this. So, Sherman. All right. So now my whole take on Chad Allen here is that he is the stereotype of like the 80s Rambo kid, like the kid that grew up, watching stuff like Red Dawn and Rambo and, the over militarized gung ho America, violent teenager. Is that what you see there?
Yeah. It's almost like, the Reagan era kid, it's like military, guns. And that's just what he was. And it's like, It's relatable though, because I think like every little boy goes through that stage.
Oh yeah, I went through that. That's what I was saying. I could see that, like, this was me. I remember being like that. So my brother and I played Army and all that kind of stuff, and so I totally got it. It's funny to look at now, but to see how serious he takes it, and it's all coming from Grandpa, right? Because like Grandpa is the World War III hero, and it's all about creepy old Grandpa Burt Remsen.
Yeah, it's just. I love the dynamic between those two because they play off each other. Got to go for a brain shot. You got to go for a head shot.
I know. And I hated Grandpa died early. Like, I was like, no, Grandpa left this film entirely early. And the parts he was in, I enjoyed the most. I thought he was the funniest character of all of them. And they took him out of this a little fast for me. But I dug Grandpa. I got his whole shtick. And I mean, it's kind of like watching, it almost reminded me of Grandpa from The Munsters, and if he was like this crazed military survivalist or something.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, probably my favorite character would have to, I don't know, I really enjoyed the parents. I really did. I think that they were just hilarious, just, the mom and the
swingers.
Yeah, the swingers. But even like when you first meet the mom, I mean, of course, she's in the workout outfit, the 80s workout outfit with, the thong back and stuff. And just the way, like, even when they have like invite like the 2 swinger people over, it's just hilarious between them two, especially the dad when he's making the drinks in the Pleasure Dome. And we got to explain what the Pleasure Dome is. The Pleasure Dome is,
yes,
they actually have like a pool in their house.
It's an indoor pool like next to their bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's where they invite other swingers over to and I love that whole bit. Like, they drop that so innocently, like, oh, Daddy, I got a date tonight. Can we do this? We're like, nah, baby, tonight we're swinging, And I'm like, man, this is the weird, but that's the trope of American families in the 80s, right? Is that we act like we're all these morally superior folks, but at the core there's a lot of seedy stuff going on behind closed doors. Isn't that what that's supposed to be? That every parent that tried to be these strict moral agents of the 80s, well, they all came out of the swinging 60s and 70s.
Yeah, definitely. I always kind of envision this, for any Family Guy fan out there, this is like the house that Quagmire built.
Oh, Quagmire is a total ripoff of Peterman here. I mean, I am calling, Seth MacFarlane is a notorious plagiarist anyway, and I know exactly where all that is from now. He'll never probably admit it, but that has got to be some of the inspiration for this dude, because the whole thing about him, and this is what's hilarious, is we meet him while he's working on the dish, and he's got the dish repairman out there, and the guy's going, these 100 models are not as good as the 1000s or whatever, and the dish repairman keeps scamming off of his Heineken, but the way they talk, it doesn't fit the era at all. It's like, can I grab another Heine for the weekend? I'll show you how to grab it. It's almost like the honeymooners out there. So it was really weird.
It was almost like the bad Brady Bunch when that outside scene was going on, because you got the turf lawn, you got the complete backdrop skyscraper, but it reminded me of probably the conversation that the Bradys would have if they were the exact opposite of how they were portrayed on TV.
Or you mean if they were their real selves as they were on that show?
Yeah, in fact, you know what? The Brady Bunch, if it was real, it would probably be this.
Very, very true. I mean, it's very weird. And okay, we got to talk about Susie. You called her the Cyndi Lauper wannabe. I mean, totally. Just a total ripoff of the glammed out hair, all the bracelets and the knee high socks and the torn sweaters, all that stuff. And of course, she dates the coolest dude in school, Uncle Rico himself, OD, who's the metalhead stereotype of all time.
He had a freaking Wasp shirt on.
Man, and there's a Wasp video in it. I'm like, did Wasp get some money for this? Because I don't think I paid good. But, that tells you how low rent this flick is. They're using Wasp. I mean, that's like a D-level metal band from the 80s. You didn't get anybody. You couldn't even get a Poison knockoff to do this thing. You had to go get Wasp.
OD is hilarious. I think he's just, the mom all of a sudden, she's fallen in love with him and everything. And you look at him, it's like, dude, even at that time, the way he was dressed, I mean, I understand this was the 80s, but it was it's so over the top with the leather bracelets with the studs coming out of him and the studded up leather jacket.
Well,
and
his whole shtick is he's like, hey, dude, and I mean, he's so stoner, but.
Yeah, he makes Pinelli. What's his name? Spinelli.
Spicoli.
Yeah. He makes Spicoli look like freaking Einstein.
Total rip off of Spicoli, but he's actually really smart. He's one of the only ones that actually knows what's going on half the time, which is hilarious to me. But I liked him. I thought he was funny. I mean, I don't know the dude except just the little parts he's played here and there. Of course, Uncle Rico and stuff like that. But I thought that he was a nice addition. I mean, he kind of picked up where Grandpa left off. But I liked him in his whole introduction, that he has to meet the parents, and you think, oh, this guy's going to be bad news. But he's actually just a dumb kid caught up in the fashion.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think he was funny throughout the whole thing. And even when later when they start playing the heavy metal music for Hungary, and it's yeah, he's a metal fan. Rock and roll. It's just stuff. It's just so over the top with every single one of these characters that you just can't help but like everybody.
Well, and then you've got Medusa. We've already called her out as the Elvira knockoff. The midnight horror mashup. All the bad what was it, a Gila monster eating another one? That was some bad old 50s monster movie stuff going on. But I kind of thought she was annoying. I'll be honest with you. She was the one part of this that kept taking me out of it every time they'd put her on screen.
Yeah, I think it was just, I mean, they tried to never be like Elvira, but Elvira, I mean, for all intents and purposes, was kind of an attractive woman, even if, goth. Medusa's pretty ugly, man. She's got the Medusa, the Elvira boobs going on, but that's about it. It's when you look at her, it's just it's a melted version of Elvira, and just she's just a bitch the whole movie.
Well, that's the thing. And there's another movie that came out during this time that did this right, and it's Fright Night. If you've ever seen that, with Roddy McDowall plays the horror icon on TV or whatever. And I mean, that came out a year before this movie. And I just, every time I watch this, and I watch any of the movies from the 80s that try to do this trope, I just always go to Fright Night because that one's done so well, and this is done so poorly. And she's the one thing that just I kept feeling like they kept trying to shoehorn that character somehow into this story. I'm giving this story way too much credit, though, Nick. I don't think they cared about any of that. This was just like a head trip. I don't know what the point of this thing was, but she was the part of it I didn't like the most.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was just the way her character was, the way she was always complaining, always being a bitch about everything. And yeah, she was just, every time she was on it, I was just kind of like, get back to Hungary, get back to the monster.
Well, and that would have been fine if they had let her be like one of the kills, if she'd have gotten killed. But she like lasts to the very end, which was all wrong.
And the whole reason she shows up at the end, still, I don't even understand it. She's like, she showed up at the house because she was mad at them.
What TV host gets so mad at people trash talking them on the air that they decide, I'm going to check out this party and give these people a piece of my mind?
Maybe like Rush Limbaugh would, but
I don't even think he would bother with this. So I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, this is more like Morton Downey Jr. or something, but even worse. I mean, see if you can imagine that. I mean, that's the right era too. But yeah, she was just weird. But what we haven't gotten to and what we've got to get to is the whole setup here. And you said it in the plot summary there, but like the monster on his planet is just a pet. But when he mutates, they're uncontrollable and you can't satiate their appetite. So the trash collector guy, alien guy, beams him into outer space. And he just so happens to get caught by the Puderman satellite dish.
Yeah. It didn't make sense to you, man? Come on, dude. That's science.
It's not about sense or not. It's how did that even come to be as a thought? I mean, I would have never dreamed. It's one of the more original ideas I've ever seen for a horror movie. I'll say that. It's more original than Prometheus.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's better than, being on like the Blob, it's on an asteroid and it crash lands onto Earth. I mean,
the Blob is all about like Red Scare stuff. That's what that's all about. If you go back to like the 50s one or the one from 1960 and stuff, that's a part of that era. I get that. This, I don't understand unless it's supposed to be that like the old trope is if you watch too much television, it'll rot your brain. It's garbage. It'll kill you. Well, what if it actually was? I mean, is that what?
I think that's pretty much exactly what it is now that you say that, because 80s was the time of like, when the TV, everybody had two TVs in their house at the time. I mean, that was kind of a big thing.
Remember Back to the Future? Nobody has two television sets.
Yeah, but that's perfect example. The 80s. I mean, the 80s is like, it's materialism. Everybody had a TV. Everybody watched TV. Dinner time revolved around the TV and stuff. Still does, but that was the beginning time of it. And I think that was maybe kind of a way to show that, you guys are all obsessed with TV and TV is going to be what kills us or what's going to destroy us.
Well, what? We've seen that before too. Steven Spielberg did that in Poltergeist. It's a little more subtle maybe than this, but it's the same idea.
Nothing in this movie is subtle, man.
This is true. This is not a movie for subtlety.
We're going swinging tonight. Come on, do you not remember that?
Well, let's talk about old Hungry the monster himself. I mean, I called him, the gross Muppet earlier. It kind of is. What is he supposed to be like a dog? Is that the thing?
I guess. And what's with this? Is his tail? Is that like a phallic object?
But he's got like a tongue hand thing going.
Yeah, he's got a tongue hand, and then he's got like a phallic eyeball thing. I don't know if that's a tail or what that is, but it seems like it's almost a different, like another sentient being with it, because that thing has its own responses and noises too. So,
well, it's almost like The Thing, if you remember The Thing, from John Carpenter's film. And I'll say this about it: it's an original idea because it could just be this big blobby monster thing, and it is that, but it's not too. Like you don't really know its anatomy, you don't really get how it mutates and works. You kind of get that it can take on the form of others temporarily and sort of use their faces and stuff as a disguise, but that doesn't last. Like even his alien owner in the end says he can mutate with humans and take on their form, but it won't last or something like that. Like the more he eats, the more he'll be hungry for it. Like you can't ever get him fed is the whole point. And I don't know.
Which I think back to like the whole TV thing, and what it maybe being a commentary on us is, maybe hungry is kind of a commentary on us. You know, the more you feed it, the more it's hungry. Well, with TV, the more you keep on putting on TV, the more people want.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Who would even talk about a television show after it's been off the air for a while? Oh, wait, we did that on the other podcast. But I think you're right. I mean, that's the whole point of this show too, right? You relive your entertainment and you become it. Well, Derrida said it, right? You know, our monsters become our pets. The things we're afraid of, we have to turn into the things that we spend all of our time with. And maybe that's the point, is that you think you can control it and you can shut it off, but once it gets out of control and it becomes a part of your life, you can't take it away. I mean, look what happens to these people when Putterman thinks he's broken the dish and like nothing's coming in. They're all just out of whack. They don't know what to do with themselves. And then they finally get a channel to come in and, oh, wow, everything's good.
Yeah, and even like they're going through like all the different channels they have and stuff, and they're commenting on each. It's like, oh, the war channel, and they come up to like Hungry, who's like in the TV, and they're like, ooh, what's this? You know, must be some kind of monster movie. And I don't know. I mean, it probably is a commentary on like the culture and the materialism and stuff like that, but it's also probably mostly because it's a ripoff of the Blob in a way. With how they're saying like the monster going to keep on eating, it's going to get bigger, and the hunger's going to be uncontrollable, but. Yeah, I don't know. I think the movie kind of had it both ways with that. So, but go ahead. But I just think the part that really kind of works for me is going back to the fact that it just doesn't take itself seriously. It's not like it's like a serious movie and it's like saying, you know, kind of like The Day the Earth Stood Still or something, where it's making like these hard line judgments on us, where it's like, this is what's going to happen if you guys continue down this. I mean. It's probably given like a little bit of a message, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, well, you know, we're gonna have fun with it too.
The only thing that could make this movie more off the wall is if Nicolas Cage was in it. I mean, that's the only way that it could be that way. The thing about this, and I think you've called it out right, is that it doesn't take itself seriously. Like maybe there's some subtext there, and they're wanting to say some things, but deep down, they're really not doing that here. I mean, they're just trying to do something goofy and kind of campy, and on that level, I can respect this. Because I do think it does play well. Like every character, even though there's a lot of difference in their age, all are on the same playing field. I don't know if you noticed it or not. Like Sherman's taken seriously by pretty well everyone, and that never happens to the kid actor.
Yeah, usually it's always like, yeah, the kid doesn't know what's going on. Let's ignore him, lock him in his room and stuff. But you know, they respect him well enough.
And even he and his sister actually get together and bond together. And the funny thing about them is in the end, you know, they realize their parents are dead. Mommy and Daddy have been eaten by the monster. And the alien guy's saying, we can grow them in cultures. They'll be very similar to your parents. They'll just have to live in an aquarium. And they're both like, forget that. You know, they're ready to go forward orphaned into the world rather than deal with that. Because their parents are psycho, you know, creepoids anyway. So, I mean, why would they want to bring them back?
Yeah, not a very good environment to raise kids when you're bringing home new people every week into the pleasure dome.
Clearly, the Evan, you know, look who she's dating and look what Sherman wants to do. He's walking around with assault weapons. I mean, it's one thing to play army; it's another to have access to the guns
and grenades. And grenades.
Oh yes, the grenades. How dare I forget? But the funny thing is, Sherman picks up what looks to be the simplest weapon of all, the alien's weapon, and he can't work it. Like it's the cheapest toy gun in the world too. You can go buy that for $4. Yeah.
It's one of the ones you get at like the state fair.
Oh, totally. I mean, it's just, but he can't get it to fire at Hungry at the end while I guess he's sucking them in. Is that I don't know. That ending was strange, but I like the balance of the characters. I mean, I thought they were funny, and for the kids to be as weird as they are, and they are both really weird. They're funny. Like they actually have some good humor in here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it just goes back to the fact that nothing's taking itself seriously. So it's like the kid is so over the top, but the kid's laughing the whole time that he's doing it. And even the daughter with the whole like Cyndi Lauper, you know, motif that's going on. It's like every like word that comes out of her mouth is like so like from the 80s and like something you'd see on like MTV or
you mean MTV when it actually played music videos?
Yeah,
that long time ago.
I mean, she almost sounded like the girl from like, remember USA Up All Night?
Oh yes, how dare we forget her? So yeah, so I mean, well, that was another ripoff from Medusa there too. You know, it was that whole bit. So, what did you make of OD? I mean, we talked a little bit about him and his punkness, but I mean, he was that dude was hilarious. I mean, I thought he had. I like the way he tried to relate to Hungry, though. That the fact that he wore all the studs and the chains and stuff, that Hungry mistook him for the alien owner that he had, right? I think that was kind of neat that they put that on that character. I mean, normally that guy would just be one of the first people killed in a horror movie, but he makes it a good while in this thing.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, like I said before, I like the character. I think he's funny. I liked his little how he's a Spicoli type guy. He's just really stupid, and it's almost like his stupidity is almost like it almost goes full circle. Or not full circle, it goes 180 where it's like his stupidity is almost like making him smart, Yeah. Especially when he's able to figure out stuff, a lot quicker than everybody else. The smarter characters in the movies can't figure out, how to talk to Hungry or how to deal with them, but yet he can. And I don't know, I really liked him. I thought he was funny, and even when he's getting mad at Hungry towards the end and stuff, and he's sort of yelling at him, and it's then finally Hungry turns on him and eats him.
I know, but I like the fact that he tried to teach him, dude, this is how you watch the tube, and that's what an 80s kid would do with a foreign alien. He wouldn't know what to do with them other than teach him how to watch television, right? Because that would be what his frame of reference was for everything. Definitely. And again, you go back to the commentary part of this is that look how awful an example that would be if you try to teach someone about that their response from the alien race would be to eat us.
But even afterwards, it's after they kind of friend Hungry, what's the thing they want to do with him?
Oh, they want to exploit him totally. Yeah, pimp him out.
Got to be that consumerism, gotta capitalism all the way right there, where it's we got somebody and it's we're gonna make some money off of them.
Gordon Gekko said it, baby. Greed is good. I mean, that's the 80s, though. That's the mid 80s, that whole yuppie mentality and all that stuff. I mean, it's part of that era, whether we ever want to admit it or not. I mean, that is part of our history, and it's something that they're played with here. And to be honest, if you came across one of those things, what you wouldn't be thinking about how am I going to get this on Oprah? I mean, come on. That's exactly what they were thinking.
I don't know, man. I see that something just ate my parents, and it's yeah, I'm getting as far away from this thing as I can.
I know, but if your parents were swingers, Nick, I mean, I'm just saying. So put it in context.
You don't know me very well.
Hey, I don't know how it goes down. I don't know how it goes down in the Midwest, but anyway. So
kidding.
Well, okay, let's talk about the end here, shall we? Because I think we're at the point where we can talk about the end now. Grandpa's been eaten, OD's been eaten. It's Susie and Sherman, and the alien keeper shows up, and he's basically spending a lot of time doing exposition. And I'm like, dude, you need to turn around and shoot something because you're talking way too much. And Medusa shows up and clocks him over the head, and it depressurizes his helmet, and he just turns into goo. What a dumb. Thanks a lot. And the whole reason she does this is he's holding his space gun, and Sherman and Susie put their machine guns down to go help him. Or she thinks they're surrendering to him or something. And so she clocks the dude. And of course, because she shouldn't be there anyway, Medusa has ruined everything.
Yeah, well, what a bitch. It just makes you hate her character even more.
So this movie is totally 80s because it's completely sexist.
Oh, when she comes in and she hits the mod, it's you think that, okay, what are they going to do here? I mean, I kind of wanted to see the parents being in an aquarium or something, because, you think at this point in the movie that, something crazy like that would happen. Maybe they defeat Hungry and that the guy grows the parents, and the parents are weird creatures, or, maybe they go off to live with the space alien on another planet and it's, a lot like Earth or whatever. But it just, the ending kind of shocked me, because it's the monster wins, and it kills a kid.
Everyone dies. I know that's the only terror part of Terrorvision is the very end, because I expected them to beam them back to his trash planet, and we see Susie has hooked up with some other rancid thing from that place, and they're trying to grow the parents in the culture and all. I mean, I could see that, but no, Hungry breaks through the wall and opens up his mouth thing and starts sucking them all in, and they can't kill him. And the last shot is Sherman coming right into the mouth. And I'm like, that is dark. That is twisted.
Yeah, definitely. But it's in retrospect, none of these characters are redeemable. I mean, all of them are bad. I mean, freaking Sherman would grow up to be a guy going to a college campus and shooting people, and freaking Susie would be who knows what. I mean, all these characters are pretty bad people, so it's almost like, yeah. So I mean, Hungry. That's why I wrote it from his perspective. He's like really the only good character in this thing.
And his whole thing is world domination, because he's going to the TV studio so he can beam across the rest of the country. And
I don't even think it's like world domination. He just wants to eat. He's hungry. I mean, I think he's the only thing in there that's really not influenced by anything more than what he is. I mean, everybody else, it's like, swinging, all sexual desires, or money, and exploiting the thing. He just wants to eat. I mean, what's more natural and primitive than that? I mean, you got to eat.
Nothing more. Good point. Well, I think we're at a point of the podcast, Nick, where it's time to give final recommendations and popcorn ratings. So what are yours for Terrorvision?
For me, it's a small popcorn. I mean, the movie's not very good as far as like how it's made, directed, and acted, but it is a fun movie, and even though I give it a small popcorn, I do recommend it. I think it's something that everybody has to go out and watch, because this is like the perfect definition of it's so bad it's good.
I completely echo that sentiment. This is so bad it is hilarious, and it is must be seen. It's the definition of small popcorn, but you know what? Sometimes small popcorn's all you need, just a little snack, and it'll get you by. I guarantee you, folks, if you're listening to this podcast, you've already heard the theme song. Try getting that out of your head. I mean, that typifies this whole film. It's just that weird old kind of 80s schlock. And this one, there are a couple other movies that kind of fall under this for me. I put this in the category of like Weird Science, which I know is a John Hughes movie, but it's in that, and My Science Project and some of those kind of flicks. I mean, this is right there with them. And I too recommend it, even though I do think it's small popcorn territory all the way. It's definitely worth seeing, folks. And I think, like we said in the beginning, watch it with a group of friends. Have a good time. This is a good bad movie night kind of film. This is one of those you want to watch with other people and enjoy. And it's certainly been fun talking about it with you. And I joked in the intro, and I guess we should let people know, we've been trying to do this for about 6 months now, and cosmic forces have aligned to keep us from doing it. We recorded this.
Cosmic ping pong balls have come out of the atmosphere, and I think one of them deleted your original file for the recording that we did.
Yep.
And just making everything else that could go wrong, go wrong.
Yeah, and I mean, it's been strange coming off the string of movies we've done, Nick. We did all the Alien films, which are, that's a wide variety of stuff. Then we did the Bourne films, which up until the last one were really strong, character-driven action films. And then now we've done Terrorvision. Where's left to go?
I don't know, but I got to ask you this, though. Prometheus, Bourne Legacy, or Terrorvision? Which one would you watch?
If I had to watch one again, I'd probably watch, I'll tell you now, I'd watch Terrorvision again before I'd ever watch either of the other two. I'll probably watch Prometheus again, but only because I need to get my blood pressure up. And that's the only reason. This is a lot of fun. This is one definitely worth revisiting if you can do bad movies and just enjoy them for what they are.
It's a perfect, Saturday night, went out, drank a little bit too much, and you just want to chill before you go to bed. Perfect movie to put on. Perfect
rainy day kind of flick all the way. But we got some real fun stuff coming up. We already told you Nick and I are starting a Stephen King retrospective the latter part of the year here. Really looking forward to getting into some of those. I mean, we're going to do The Shining, Misery, Shawshank Redemption, and there's a lot of cool films from that.
Maximum Overdrive.
I mean, how can we forget that one? So we're going to hit a lot of cool stuff here toward the end of the year and into next year. We really appreciate you joining us. You can find more film reviews in our archive section of our website, continuousplaypodcast.com/movies. You can also find links to our Buffy the Vampire Slayer podcast that I mentioned earlier, The Art of Slaying. 4 full seasons of Buffy up there. So until next time, for Nick, I'm Jay. Thanks for tuning in. Film Strip.
Thanks for listening to Film Strip.
I'm so terribly sorry for the inconvenience.
Mom, can we use the jacuzzi tonight?
Not tonight, baby. Your father and I might be swinging.
Visit our website, continuousplaypodcast.com, for more reviews and episodes. All content used or discussed in this podcast are the property of their respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504C2, Title 17.